Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting at Oakley Trucking. I'm your host for this podcast. This is the Oakley Podcast, Trucking Business and Family. I appreciate everybody joining us every week, listening to the new episodes that we got coming out. Some of them from the truck show. Actually, this one was going to be recorded at the truck show, but unfortunately, they couldn't make it. But we got them. We got them on Zoom this week, and going to talk to Robert Palm with the Trucker's Final Mile. And this is something that I think not a lot of people think about, but it does happen. And he has a charitable organization that helps get truck drivers from when there's a crisis. Even a death. If a truck driver passes away on the road, a lot of people don't think about how they get back home, and he has the answer for that, and not just that, but other crises that happen. And Robert Palm's going to give us some information on what his organization does here in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you about our sponsor. Aero Truck Sales has been a sponsor for the Oakley podcast since day one, and I just can't say enough about this. I want y'all to know, though, we don't. Even if Aero Truck Sales wasn't a sponsor, we would still be talking them up and sending guys to them to get their trucks. They have a great selection of used trucks. It's very important to us that when we refer a guy to a company about buying a truck, that we got confidence in them and that it's a good one. And we've experienced this over the years with Aero Truck Sales, and they've got just great selection of used trucks. They really have. I can't tell you how many first-time owner-operators that we have sent to Aero Truck Sales and are still currently at Oakley and are successful, has made a great living, and it's helped them get their business started and become a successful owner-operator. And we appreciate Keith Wilson, Trey Visor, we've dealt with for years, and those guys do a good job. So if you're interested in a used truck, you give those guys a call up there in Springfield, Missouri.
A used semi-truck is a great way to kick off your career as an owner-operator on a budget, and buying from a reputable dealer like Aero Truck Sales ensures you're getting a reliable truck that fits your needs. They carry trucks from all the major manufacturers in the trucking industry and perform a thorough inspection of every truck on their lot to ensure safety and quality and give you confidence that you're getting a reliable truck that will last you for years at a price that you can afford. Being a longtime partner with Oakley Trucking and the Oakley Podcast, we trust them to provide our owner-operators with a truck that fits their needs and matches our qualifications. So whether you're a first-time owner-operator or just looking for a new-to-you rig, be sure to give Keith Wilson and Trey Visor a call at 573-216-6047 and let them know you heard it here on the Oakley Podcast.
All right, let's get started with our episode with the Trucker's Final Mile. So let's jump right into this if you want to. I know you're probably limited on time, but kind of if you would introduce yourself, give you a self-introduction of who Robert Palm is, and we'll get started.
Well, my name is Robert Palm. I am the founder and CEO at truckersfinalmile.org. We've been in operation since May 1st, 2014, and we have assisted with bringing home more than 600 truck drivers to their families. And, I've been an over-the-road driver since March 81, and here we are doing our thing to help our brothers and sisters out on the nation's highways.
Now, I guess you were a truck driver, and then you came up with this idea?
Yeah, I was kind of, when you're driving a truck, you see a lot of things. You're involved in a lot of things out on the road. My first year driving in 1981, I began in March 81, and my father passed away in June of 81. And because of the obligation of the industry, being out there on a truck, I was not able to make it to my dad's funeral. And then in 93, we lost my stepbrother out on the road in a tragic accident in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And, the family had to get together because there were no organizations at that time. And so we all got together and got Joey home and to mom and everything. In 97, I crashed in Columbus Ohio, and they nearly had to get together and come and get me. I spent several months in rehab. I crashed in June of '97 and didn't get back to work until March of '98. So that affected myself and my family and all that. Um, I've had my appendix rupture when I was out on the road. Um, I've had issues that I've seen. You see things every day when you're out there. And then in 2012, I rescued a young lady that had rolled her truck out near Buffalo, Oklahoma, and helped put her on a life flight helicopter and all that. And coming up out of that ravine, where we put her on a helicopter, it was like, the Lord spoke to me and said, "Hey, Robert, there's something else I'd like you to do." So I spent all of 2013 researching what was available in the industry. Took a couple courses on nonprofit philanthropy and everything that needed to be done in order to put the strategic plan and all the documents and all that together. Um, and so we did all that. We got everything together, board of directors, the whole nine. And we began assisting families in May of 2014. And like I said earlier, we've assisted more than 600 families right now. And we do it all by donations. No one in the organization takes any financial, compensation for what we do. And, 10 years later, here we are.
Um, Trucker's Final Mile. I mean, that's how it got started back in 2013. I think you said 2012, 2013. You had the idea and you had circumstances happen that made you come up with this, which is a great. I mean, it really is a need out there and a great thing that you're doing because we see it ourselves. I mean, I've unfortunately have I've been to a lot of funerals. We've had owner operators pass away while they're on the road, and you don't really think about it until right then. How do you get them back home? What's their families going to do? And the families are asking us, what do we do? Type deal, and it really makes you step back and think about a truck driver and his life, that he's living and away from home and what can happen. And it just sounds like a great organization that you've got going on here. So tell our listeners a little bit about what all you do. What all does a trucker's final mile do?
Well, what we did is we put together a strategic plan to be hopefully all encompassing when a tragedy or a crisis occurs out on the road. Um, the experiences I had during my trucking career, with not being able to go to my dad's funeral, losing my brother out on the road, being involved in a major collision myself, and experiencing all of those, I did not know at the time, but those were actually experiences that were molding the programs of the organization. So we assist, and we're most known for assisting a family with the cost of bringing a deceased truck driver home to be laid to rest. Any preparation, ground transportation fees, airline fees, death certificate costs, all of those are what we assist with those costs. We do not transport anybody home, but we do assist with those costs. It's our mission to eliminate that cost to the family of a truck driver. We also program too, if a driver is severely injured out on the road, then we assist once he or she is released from medical care in getting that driver home to continue his or her recovery. Um, we program three should a driver experience a major onset medical episode, such as a heart attack or a stroke. Once they're released from care again, we help get them home. It may be to the home itself, or it may be to a rehab facility. Um, number four, uh, program number four is to assist getting a driver home should something occur to a household member or the home itself, in that, helping um, to secure shelter for the family should a tornado take out the home or what have you. and then help get him or her back to the truck to get back to work. Program number 5 is a mobility program where we assist with, we go to the driver's home, we get contractors, we get materials and all that for a wheelchair ramp, rolling shower, pocket door, etc. And then we also have a program that assists. We have a nationwide network of chaplains should there be a need for grief counseling for the family.
So, Robert, with your organization, I mean, are you doing this full time? I guess.
Yes, sir.
And do you have a group of people helping you? I'm assuming to be able to put all this together.
Yes, sir. We have a board of directors. We have some volunteers that work to help us with phones and logistics and contacting funeral homes and airlines, etc. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's got to be it's got to happen quick. Is that something that you try hard to make sure that this happens fast?
Well, yeah, particularly when there's a loss of life, the families sitting at home, could be hundreds, thousands of miles away. They want their loved one home. We try to work as expeditiously as possible with the funeral homes and everyone to be able to facilitate getting that driver home to be laid to rest. Um, we just did assist with one of your drivers that recently passed away, and it was awesome to work with uh, the driver was an organ donor, so that process was able to be done expeditiously, and he was home next day. Sometimes it takes a little while if there's an investigation, but generally, uh, 3 to 5 days the driver can be home.
Was that well? I was wondering. We gave the information to his spouse. Was that the just happened a couple weeks ago?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh well, good. I'm glad to hear that that worked for us. So you were able to.
Yeah, he was an organ donor, and one of the things about that particular company is that they are quick in doing what they do, and they were able to transport him home at no cost, and it was phenomenal. It went real quick. Everything was good. Family was happy, and with the results, and it got done. So we were there for them, and we're there for any driver out there right now.
What's some of the situations that you don't help with? That people may think you do because you talk about it being a crisis, but I mean, you can't help everybody. You got to have some rules there, some sort.
Yeah. The only thing that prevents us from helping everyone that comes to us is cost. Our average cost in the situation of loss of life to get a driver home is approximately $3,400. That would include the recovery costs from where the loss of life occurred. That would include any ground transportation costs, for example, from the medical examiner to the local funeral home that's going to do the preparation. The preparation itself, which may include autopsy repair, it may include permit costs, it may include the cost of death certificate, it may include the cost of embalming, ground transportation to a certified airfield, the plane fare to the hometown, and then the cost for the local funeral home to recover the remains from the airport. Um, so pretty much anything we do is the cost involved from the location of the loss of life to the hometown funeral home, to their front door. We do not and cannot, because there's too many requests for it and they're too costly, of any memorial or funeral services. We cannot pay, we just can't do that. But our mission is to eliminate the cost burden of getting a driver from the location of loss of life to their hometown funeral home. And like I said, our average right now can be near $3,500. Of course, there are some situations where it's less. There's also some situations where it's more. So we have a limit of $5,000 per instance. Uh, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration will tell you that approximately 850 drivers, commercial vehicle occupants, lose their lives in collisions alone each year on the nation's highways. Truckers Final Miles we're, the last 2 years we're bringing home 100 drivers a year, and we do it with donations only. And so our costs, our ability to do what we do depends on the funding that we receive from our regular donors, company donations, or company sponsorships. That's what limits us. If we had more funding, we could do a lot more.
And y'all do, of course, I know we're talking about there if somebody passes away, but you do other crisis situations like. Have you ever done like if a company just leaves a driver hung out there on the road, like they go out of business or something, and have to try to help get a guy back home?
Well, unfortunately, Jeremy, there's too much of that.
Yeah,
And as
true.
there's way too much of that. As a 501c3 charity, like you said earlier, we can't help everybody all the time. If you are driving a commercial motor vehicle, if you hold a CDL license, the driver themselves have some responsibility for what they're doing. If you know that you're leaving Tampa, Florida, for example, and you're going to Tacoma, Washington, um, you should have some type of preparation as part of your pre-trip that you have um, funds to be able to get yourself home. Whether you're an owner operator and a motor blows or a rear axle goes out or whatever, and that truck's going to be in the shop for 3 or 4 months, um, what are you going to do as far as hotel time? If you're a company guy and the company goes belly up, um, they're not going to tell you with any advance notice. They're just going to shut it down, and they're going to let you worry about getting yourself home. And you should be prepared for that. Whether, if you've got any history in the industry whatsoever, it happens on a regular, daily basis that a company will shut down. They won't pay their insurance. They won't pay their employees. And, drivers ourselves, we need to be prepared. Figure out what it's going to be to get yourself home, because Truckers Final Mile will not do it. We can't do it. We don't have the funding reserve to be able to get everybody a bus ticket or a plane ticket. If you have your animal with you, you need to make sure their shot records are current, because you're not going to get on a plane or a bus with any pet. Get to the point to where you could save up enough funds so that you know that whatever the furthest distance you go from your hometown, say, okay, I'm going from Tampa to Tacoma. You figure out what it's going to take to get yourself home in a rental vehicle so that you can get yourself, you can get Fluffy, and you can get all your personal belongings out of that commercial truck and get yourself home safely and in some type of comfort. Wages are all over the board in the industry. Some companies are promising 12, 15, $1,800 a week. If you could set aside $600, $800, you're going to be able to get yourself home from wherever you are in the country. And that should be part of a pre-trip every time, because Truckers Final Mile is not the place. If you're being terminated, if you're being laid off, if you're quitting, if you're abandoning equipment, we are not the organization to call. We cannot do that.
Right. I guess you make a decision when you get a phone call on whether you're going to help somebody or not.
Yeah, and I want to help every driver I want to help every family that's lost their primary breadwinner, their loved one, out on. I know what it's like to go get a family member, and I don't want any family to have that financial burden. This industry has been great to me, and it's been a good career. Um, but I want to find a way to pay back. Uh, you know, um, when you lose someone out on the road, the military, for example, they have programs in place that, no man left behind. And that's what I want to bring into the trucking industry. There's no law, there's no statute, there's no regulation, there's no mandate for any company or carrier to bring any driver home for any reason whatsoever. They don't have to. I have seen where a company is called, we need help getting this driver home because he was logged off duty. It's not our responsibility. Um, when he had a heart attack and died in his truck. We have situations where uh, a veteran transitioned from the military into the trucking industry. That veteran drove for several years with a dry box company and wanted to expand on his career and say, I really would like to get into hazardous materials. I'd like to get into tanker. The company says, we don't offer that. So he had to resign his position with the dry box company and hire on with a tanker company. And there's that 90-day window where your benefits don't kick in. And the poor gentleman passed away in his truck on his 82nd day. There were no
Mm.
benefits from the company he had been with. There was no benefits from the new company. He was a military veteran. He was an organ donor. He served our country three separate ways: as an organ donor, as a commercial vehicle driver, keeping our shelves stocked, and as a U.S. Army soldier defending our freedom. I want every driver every family that comes to Truckers Final Mile to be assured that we can get their driver home and do it with dignity and do it with respect. The only problem is the funding. There's no requirement for any
Yeah.
company to get their driver home. Well, there's no requirement for any company to donate or sponsor our organization, but we are steadfast in what we're doing. We have a great strategic plan. We've got phenomenal programs for these drivers in this industry, and we just need, frankly, we just need help. Our average is $3,400 per driver, and we're bringing home 100 per year. And we could do more if we had more. And
Sure.
our donors and the sponsors that we do have are phenomenal in their support and their loyalty to us. And we love them, and we try to make it known that we love them. So, but
Well,
we're here for the drivers.
I like the way that you're thinking with that direction of taking care of the drivers, because there needs to be something. I kind of, now that I hear you say that, I mean, there really does need to be something to try to help them get them home. I mean, we've had, of course, examples here at Oakley that we've done. We had an owner operator. He was up in, I want to say, Pennsylvania area, up in the Northeast, and he lives down in Mississippi, and his daughter and two grandkids tragically passed away. He was distraught. Luckily we were able to get a plane, fly up there, pick him up, fly him back home, that day, so he could be with his family right then. And you just think about, not every company can do that, and not every company is going to be able to do that, and we can't do it with everybody. But you sure want to try to help the best you can. And me having to deal with some of this, Robert, that I've dealt with over the years here at Oakley, I've had conversations with spouses of, their husband on the road, he passed away, and she's like, "What do I do, Jeremy? What do I do now? What?" And it's very eye opening to you to realize, you do need to be prepared. This is going off a little bit different direction, but what do you think they could do to be prepared? The spouses, the driver, the spouse at home. What would you suggest that they do to be prepared for something like this? Whether it's life insurance, whether it's share information, when it comes to the truck and the bills and that kind of stuff, what's your recommendation?
My recommendation is do not assume that your company is going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Um, and be prepared. I mean, have family conversations. Um, you go into an orientation and it's like, okay, sign this form, check this box, do this, do this. Life insurance was never intended to get anybody home for any reason. Um, Life insurance was initially set up to benefit the family because back in the day, the primary breadwinner was out on the road or at the factory or what have you, and then should have he or she pass away, everything happens to the family. I have families that once we've gotten their driver home, they lost their home, they lost assets, they had to downsize, they had to move, they had to bring family members in to assist with child care. A lot of the companies will, I will say, okay, you come to orientation, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pay you so much money a mile. We're going to provide a $10,000 group life plan for you that's going to help get you home if anything happens. And if you paid out $3,400 to get a driver home, and then you pay another $6,000 for a memorial service, a simple memorial service anymore, what's left for the family? Some companies it takes 45 days to get your last settlement or your last paycheck. Is there access to a bank account? All this goes into the planning because in the trucking world, if there's a loss of life, say in Utah, and the family lives in Georgia, the death certificate is issued in Utah, and it accompanies the remains back to Georgia. Occasionally, there may be a temporary death certificate issued in order to facilitate that transportation to get the individual home. That official death certificate may not come 2-3 months down the line, um, because there may be a toxology report, there might be an investigation, there might be a delay in getting an official signature, what have you. And so if you're sitting in Georgia and it takes 2 months to get the death certificate, you're not going to be able to file a claim on any policy until you have that official certified copy with you. Um, so it may be months before you could file a claim on that life insurance policy. And a life insurance policy at $10,000 is really minuscule. The recommended level of insurance should be 10 times the annual earnings so that you've got, the surviving spouse may have to enter the workforce, or the surviving spouse may have to go take educational courses in order to initially enter the workforce. So, I mean, there's so many dynamics that change in a family unit once you lose your loved one that people don't realize after the fact. Your company's not going to do anything in most situations. It costs a company just to go recover a truck and a trailer and get the load delivered, which is going to be their priority. It's going to cost them $4,000 or $5,000 if they have to pay a tow bill, if they have to pay storage fees, etc. So being prepared is the number one thing, and it should be a family pre-trip. If you're leaving Georgia for the first time and you've never been to California, it's going to be a wake-up call. And if something goes wrong, in trucking, we're all super truckers. It's not going to happen to me. It's going to happen to the other guy. Poor soul, rest in peace. And all this, you see a truck laying in the median or what have you. But you don't see the after effect until you're involved in that after effect, which I've been involved in the last 10 years.
Oakley Trucking is a 100% owner-operator company. We specialize in hopper bottom, end dump, and pneumatic trailers. We provide the trailer free of charge, and you provide the truck. We have a large customer base that reaches the whole United States as well as parts of Canada. Our owner-operators live anywhere from Texas to North Carolina to Pennsylvania to Wisconsin and everywhere in between, and we get them home weekends. We take it seriously when you join Oakley Trucking because we need you to be successful. Oakley offers great benefits and competitive mileage pay, so you know that when your wheels are turning, you're generating money no matter if you're loaded or empty. We understand that you want to make a good living and that you make our living. We only take on independent contractors, and to be honest with you, we are very particular on who we lease on. You must have a good driving record, good work history, and clean, dependable truck. So if you're interested in Oakley Trucking or just want some more information, you can go to oakleytrucking.com, listen to our weekly podcast, The Oakley Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Speaking with a couple of our spouses, it's probably been 6-8 months ago, Robert, I was talking to them because I was thinking about doing a podcast with them and to help prepare people for it because, they told me, the wives told me, said, well, I wished we would have shared information on expenses on the truck. What do I need to do with it if something happens to you? Putting it in her name or both their names or just little things that she needed to know on how to handle stuff if something happens. And you hate to have those conversations because, like you said, we're all super truckers. It's not going to happen to us. But when it does, it really opened my eyes into talking to these spouses and how they, they felt like, man, they just wasn't ready, to handle things. And I think, of course, life insurance is sure helps. I mean, like you said, you need to have, 5 or 10 times the amount for sure because especially if your spouse at home doesn't work, well, you still want to have enough life insurance that she's going to receive to where she still doesn't have to work, and that's, you got to think about that kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate, but it's going to happen one day. I mean, there's a 100% chance, we're not going to be here forever. So on this planet Earth. So, you kind of got to get your ducks in a row and plan a little bit better, even though it's a conversation that nobody wants to have. But it sure is nice when you have things in order. Then you can feel confident on going out on the road. And here's my, this is the plan if something happens, and I feel good about it instead of, I don't know what will happen.
And I'd like to mention one other thing, being truck drivers that we are, and we're all super truck drivers, and we've all got the best of the world, one other thing that I want to mention is the next of kin chain of command. Because a lot of people, particularly in trucking for some reason, we all have girlfriends in every port. And, sometimes that ride along that's with us on the truck may not be married, may not be a spouse. And, you have, when there's a loss, and we've had the situation come up several times, well, that driver's been estranged from his family for so long, but she's been on the truck, and the ride-along has been on the truck for 6 years. But the ride-along didn't know that the driver was previously married and never divorced that spouse.
Oh, my.
I've had it happen more than once. Or the only surviving child in the family is a daughter of that's been estranged from the father for 10 years. And when it comes to the chain of command for the next of kin, well, the ride-along significant other did not know of the daughter. And that ride-along significant other might have different ideas about what the final wishes are, but the daughter is the one that's legally going to be able to make those decisions, and the only one. So for Valentine's Day, we always put out a little video, hey, take your significant other that's not been on the truck with you for Valentine's Day, take him or her down to the courthouse and get at the very least a living will or some type of document giving them authorization of what your last wishes may be. We recently had a driver that had a significant other on the truck, not spousal. Um, and that individual, they did go get written documentation, and the family was totally left out, and it was everything went to this girlfriend, and that was it. There was nothing the family could do because of the way it was, uh, uh, structured. So that's one other thing to look at when you're preparing your pre-trip. Make sure you've got funding to be able to get back home, regardless of what your company is going to do for you. There are some phenomenal companies out there. They will do everything for you. But there's other companies that, if you're in a collision and you lose your life, there are some companies in our industry that will not even have the courtesy to palletize your personal belongings and ship them to your family. I've seen companies throw personal belongings in the trash can because the family was not able to get to the terminal a state and a half away within a
Mm.
30-day period. So those are questions you ask in orientation. Be
Yeah,
prepared.
that's sad too. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
but you got to
But
be prepared, Robert. I mean,
that's the
that's
state of
that's
our industry.
yeah, yeah, it is, and I mean, I can't say enough. Talking to the truck driver, it is your responsibility to make sure this stuff is taken care of. Don't don't leave your family a mess. To figure out after you're gone. Get it taken care of and get it cleared up for everybody, and have that difficult conversation so that it's not a mess if something was to happen. Let's talk about fundraising real quick before we end this, because that's the biggest part of this whole charitable organization is you got to have the money or you can't help people, right?
That is correct. Yep, that is correct. We are the trucking industry is said to be a $800 billion a year for profit industry. There's no law, regulation, statute, mandate, or anything requiring any company to get any driver home for any reason. The trucking industry is the one of the only, if not the only, industry that will leave a individual deceased, severely injured, or medically incapacitated out on the road. Um, and it's a dang shame what goes on in this industry. There are, I think you would be pressed to find 20 um, legitimate 501c3 charities in the industry working for the truck driver themselves. Um, and we combined, $800 million a year industry, and combined, I think you'd be hard pressed to see that all of the charities combined uh, are supported with 10 or more million per year combined. And that is a minuscule percentage of what the for-profit sector gets from this industry. The organizations, everyone is full of need. Every organization, Truckers Find a Mile, we've had to turn people away uh, and say no. And how do you build a vital resource for these individuals that are our industry? The man and woman behind the wheel of our industry, the veterans that transition into our industry, the new younger crowd that's coming into our industry, they are our industry. There's no company
Yeah.
without the truck driver, none. And our organization and several others support those individuals as much as we possibly can, but we do it by donations. And those donations, our budget for 2024 is probably going to be in the $400,000 range. And some of the programs that we have, like doing wheelchair ramps, and helping drivers get home after a tornado or what have you, some of those programs we do not even promote because we don't have the funding behind them.
Mm.
We're asking every single day for donations because we have to. If we've had Jeremy, we had a time last year in October, we had 6 requests in one day for deceased drivers, and you're looking $30,000, $60,000 to get these ladies and gentlemen home, and so we had to take a 30-day break last year. We had to stop accepting any request last year for 30 days, and we turned away 16 people during that period of time because the
Oh
ebb
no.
and flow of the need, it's great. And we just, the request is always there, www.truckersfinalmile.org. Uh, every donation is tax deductible, and we need company donations, we need company sponsorships.
Yeah, I was just on your website. I've been on it this morning, and it's super easy to donate. I mean, you have a, you know, donate now tab for everybody to go to, and donate to this awesome fund that Robert Palm is running. I mean, I appreciate your being passionate about what you do and taking care of truck drivers, because I'm a truck driver supporter too. I want them all taken care of and help them in any way we can because they take care of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And without a truck driver, where are you going to be? And,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
whether it's owner operator, and they need support because they're taking the greatest risk. And particularly in 2023, 2024, the owner operator model is being attacked from every angle. And those ladies and gentlemen that are out there doing that, they're taking great risk. And, the company guys as well, they're taking a great risk because I understand 2 companies just in California closed their doors over the weekend, and we lost 9,000 companies in the first half of 2023, and there's companies that come in one day and the next day they're gone, and you have no idea what's going on internally with these companies. And so, company drivers take just as much risk as any owner operator does. The only thing with the owner operator is he's footing the bill. And,
yeah,
our top of our page, it says respect and dignity for North American truck drivers. And that's not just a phrase, that's our creed. We live by that. We've been out there. I've been out there since '81. Um, I have 4 million miles of driving, and I want to be able to assist my brothers and sisters in this industry because I consider each and every single one of them my family, and I want to do the best for them and continue. And like I said, and I preach every day, and I ask every day, the only way that Truckers Final Mile can continue to do anything for any of these drivers is with the generosity and compassion of those that support our mission and our programs.
yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on the Oakley podcast and talking to me about a tough situation, a tough topic that needs to be discussed, and hopefully you'll get some donations out of this for sure, because we want to be able to help you all we can, Robert.
Well, sir, we appreciate the opportunity to bring in awareness to our organization. It's a taboo subject a little bit in the industry about getting drivers home that have passed away. We've had them in truck stop parking lots. We've had them in collisions. We've had drivers that have been murdered. We've had drivers that have committed suicide. We've had the full spectrum of when a loss of life occurs in order to get them home. We've had injuries. We've had drivers that have had amputations in collisions. Um, Everything that we could do, as much as we could do, we want to be able to do. And like I said, and I know people get tired of hearing it from me, but Truckers Final Mile, just like any company out there would not exist without the truck driver. Truckers Final Mile does not exist without donations. They're tax deductible. You can find our website, www.truckersfinalmile.org. And, we need sponsors. Sponsors would be better and better. The more of those we get, and a company can say how much they support the drivers. Truck driver appreciation is every single day at Truckers Final Mile. So, again, Jeremy, thank you so much for allowing us to spread the awareness and the word about what we do and what we need. Thank you.
You bet, Robert. I appreciate you coming on and educating us about the Truckers Final Mile. So everybody listen up, the truckersfinalmile.org. Go donate because you'll be helping your fellow truck drivers in time of need. So I appreciate everybody listening to the Oakley podcast every week. You guys are awesome. Keep it coming, and we'll talk to you next week.